I wanted to talk to you a little bit about building house and how, if you are going to build a house, obviously in relation to solar, the electrical system is super important. Not only in terms of how to connect the solar, but how the electrical is done. Because we see a lot of problems with the electrical systems in Thailand a lot. That they are done with the wrong cables, that they are done with the wrong panels, the wrong breakers, the wrong everything. It seems harder to do things correctly than to do things. It seems easier to do it wrong than to do it correct for electricians in Thailand, I have to say. Many reasons for that, but I'm not going to get into that. What I'm going to get into are some of the normal mistakes that we see that you can avoid if you are going to have a company or a group of guys build a house for you. First of all, I would definitely recommend get the company to do it, because when you do this relative, wives, families, friends, and all this stuff, you have no protection, and we have seen it so many times that it just turns into chaos. And for us, it's terrible when we come to a house and we want to install solar, and there are so many problems with the electrical that we have to first repair the electrical before we can do the solar. So some of the obvious examples is cable sizing that is wrong. That actually can have very significant consequences for solar. I'll give you an example that can be very difficult to find. We installed a solar system 2 years ago for a customer where actually one of the cables connecting a sub panel to the main panel had the wrong size, but it was not the wrong size in the sub panel. What they had actually done was to connect a very small 1.5 cable in the connection box up in the ceiling, and then from there to the main panel. So when we installed the solar, we had a look at the cables in the sub panel, and then everything looked okay. We have never seen and never thought about that somebody could actually switch to a smaller cable from the connection box up in the ceiling. So it took us 2 visits and a lot of troubleshooting to sort of even think about looking for that problem. But we did in the end, and then we found that problem. And obviously when you install a 5 kilowatt system on a 1.5 cable, it's not going to work. It's very dangerous. And also what happened there was that there was a huge volt increase because the cable is not able to support, and then voltage goes up. So it's very bad. So, but in the end we managed to fix it. But that's just an example of a problem that comes from installations where it's very hard to find out what the problem is. Now, as we get more experience, and our guys are very skillful in terms of having experience with different kinds of problems, we're able to in most cases find it. But we meet new kinds of problems all the time, things that we never really thought about. Mention another problem that is quite logical, and that is what's called shared neutral. You know, the neutral what they do is that they share that among many breakers. So then when you want to install a solar system and you do try to make a UPS box for a battery system, and then you try that with shared neutrals, it doesn't work. You can't do it. And it's also very bad because let's say that you turn on both things that the shared neutral is connected to. It's going to give more amp than the cable is rated for. But that's the most common problem that we see when we install hybrid systems. That's shared neutral on the electrical on several breakers. And then we have to put in new neutral. And if then the sealing is done in a way that you can't access the cables, then in most cases, then the customer can't put those things on the UPS. So, or the alternative is to destroy the ceiling. And obviously most people don't want to do that. So, but in some cases, actually, we have done that because it has been so important to get independent neutrals and get those appliances on the UPS. So we have actually done that too, but it's a very common problem and a very serious problem that should never be there. But this is like standard highways that we have to deal with, and obviously when people build houses, we can give them advice on how to avoid these problems. But the problem is, if you don't check, first of all, it's very difficult to check if you don't understand it. You know how to check for it and how to make sure it's not being done. And then the second thing is, if the builder has already given you a quote, including electrical, and then suddenly you increase the demands to him, the builder is going to say, well, that's not included, or something like that. So, but at least knowledge is power, and if you know what is wrong, at least you have a chance to make it right. So if you want a well-functioning solar where you have the flexibility for UPS and everything, we can at least tell you how it should be. And then, now obviously the benefit for people that we build houses for is that the electrical is 100%. Because obviously we do that in accordance to how it should be in regards to cable size and UPS and not shared neutrals and all these things and ground and everything. So that's a huge benefit for those that choose us as the house builder. Now, we are not trying to get into house construction as a thing. We have enough with solar, and we already work with construction companies that we are very happy with. For example, Chaweewan Construction in Hvordan. So it's not going to be a major thing for us, but we're going to do it sometimes when it fits us, and it's not too big, not too time consuming. We feel like we have a chance to put it into our slots. So that's it, guys. Take care of your electrical and do some research before you start building. That's the best advice I can give you. Okie doke, guys, take it easy.